where are you right now? Because I feel like you're in Mexico a second ago.
I'm in Costa Rica.
Where were you? You were
I
somewhere
was
else,
in
right?
Nashville, and then I flew from Nashville to Costa Rica. Yeah,
Right. That's fabulous.
all over the place.
Fabulous.
Yep.
Why not? All over the place. Is it rainy season now in Costa Rica? I think we're the opposite
No,
in
it
Bali.
isn't, but it is
No,
today. It
it's
is
raining.
really fucking raining.
So, what are you doing in Costa Rica? Tell us a little bit about that, and then we'll dive into our theme
Oh my
for today.
goodness. Well, it feels like every single day new opportunities are like coming into my field, and so I just keep following them because they're aligned with the path that I'm here to walk under. But like I was just at a
Yeah.
immersion, an in-person immersion in Nashville with Maya Knight, learning all about sober psychedelics and how to use the body and the somatic processes that we have to energetically guide you into a profound experience without substances. That was incredible. And then I have another retreat that I'm going to next weekend with Bridget James Ling because I'm in her mastermind. And so I was like, I'm not going to fly from Nashville back to the Northeast and then the Northeast to Costa Rica. Let me just see if I can just go to Costa Rica for the intermittent time between both of the retreats. And my friend Lexi, who's at the Cycle Witch on Instagram, she's incredible, does like female healing for the menstrual cycle and bringing our bodies back into alignment with all of those nuances that are so important to know about. So she is one of my good friends who's also in the mastermind with me, and she lives in Costa Rica. And so she just invited me to come to her house. And she picked me up from the airport, and I was like, yeah. So I just was like, yes, yes, and how much better can this get, universe? And they were like, go to hang out and co-work with Lexi all week. And so that's why I am here right now. But yeah, this is my third time in Costa Rica this year, and it's the beginning of April. So I've been around these
Mhm.
parts a lot lately. So
Oh, it's amazing though. And I mean, this is exactly what we're getting into today. You know, it's like listening to the call, listening to the communication of your body, listening to the messages you're receiving. And instead of being like, oh no, I can't do that, actually following that and then the magic coming forward as a byproduct. And so before we dive in, tell us a little bit about what you do, how you move with energetic literacy, and then we'll dive into all the bits and
oh
pieces
my
that I've got
god,
to
what
fire at
a
you.
what a broad question, because I feel like yeah,
What do
I
you
do
do?
so many things, but at this present juncture in my life, I am helping to scale my companies, which are a landscape design and gardening company, a flower farm, and a flower essence therapy company. So I work with nature and the consciousness of nature to heal nature. And then the plants and the earth itself has asked me to come onto the online space and help other entrepreneurs who are looking to ground their energy so they can scale and build that foundation for their energetic capacities to expand and to channel the wealth, the purpose, and the service that they're really here to channel. And so, yeah, that's essentially my duty, my task, my invitation from Spirit presently is helping entrepreneurs in all different fields, not just coaching, not just the online coaching industry, but bringing your mission to life that's deeply rooted in who you are, who you came to be, here to be rather. And that's what's lighting me up recently and what I've been building all winter. So
I was literally like writing down these little prompts, and I was like, when I ask her what she does, she's gonna be like, well, which part do you want?
I do it all.
And that's the beauty of it. It's the beauty. You do it all. You do it all. And okay, so because we could talk about absolutely everything and anything. But what I really want to dive into, because here at Aligned, we could, because here at Aligned, like we really anchor into tuning back into the body, quieting the mind, and becoming what you like to call energetically literate, right? Which is that energetic awareness, being able to listen to your body's communication. And so I'd love for you to dive into this theme a little bit and tell us a little bit about what came through for you when energetic literacy came forward and presented itself as something that you now steward people through, and why it's so important right now.
Such a another broad question, but a little bit more refined. And I think that when I've been trying all winter to like deduce down how I've done what I've done. Essentially, I feel like I've been working with so many different people, including B, to kind of really marinate on and percolate the real pillars of how I've gotten to where I am now, how I scaled my first business to multiple six figures 3 months after my husband died in the first year of my company in 7 months. So it's like, what is actually going on here? How did I scale to $500,000 in 3 years with very little help in a seasonal company where we only work 8 months of the year? Like, how did this happen? And so, in the many hours that I've sat with this question, like, how actually have I done this? What was my method? Like, how can I be of service and help to walk people through, their own iteration of what it is that I've been able to amount to? And it just comes down to the very foundational base layer of being able to navigate the many energetics of scaling a business from your heart's center. There's like 1,000,001 strategies out there for people to harvest from, and this is like, I mean, you all you need today is Google, ChatGPT, YouTube. Like, if you really wanted to learn like business strategy, there's plenty of resources out there. But the fact of the matter is, there's only one real strategy for each individual person to actually be fed by, not just have some not just be retracting from, like always putting something out, always churning, always burning out, always feeling like you're overcompensating and not getting, the juice that you squeeze, right? It's like the juice isn't worth the squeeze with a lot of strategies because they're not your strategy. And so, because I didn't have a strategy going into
Yeah.
my business, the only thing I had to lean on was my energetics. The only thing I had to lean on was spirit. The only thing I had to lean on was the intelligence of nature. And like I always say, the nature in general, plants, the elements, soil, like pollinators, birds, like things like that are and have always been my greatest teachers and mentors, because they are the ones who taught me how to be energetically literate. And that was my foundation in building my business. Before any strategy, I like had literally no idea what I was doing. I had no business background. I didn't go to college for any of this stuff, but I was able to scale to multiple six figures because I was rooted deeply in energetic patterning and not rushing and not feeling like I had to abandon my own integrity essentially to get where I wanted to go, because I didn't even know really where I wanted to go. I just wanted to show up and like be in the energy. I just wanted to be in the process and be learning and be, a steward of all of the different invitations and opportunities that were coming my way. And when you approach different opportunities and invitations in your business from that place of like lightness and curiosity and how can I be a good steward of what spirit's asking me, you scale so much fucking faster, because all of the other noise and the regurgitated bullshit that's all over the internet just doesn't apply, because you're in your presence, you're in your authenticity, and it just can't get in. It doesn't have space because you're so full of your own essence. Does that answer the question?
That answers the question. And as you were speaking, like I wanted to ask you to dive a little bit deeper, because one of my favorite stories that you've told me is the when you were trimming roses for the lady, and then like how your business just evolved as a byproduct of this. And I mean, I think this ties into, because you move and you share on energetic literacy, but also nature is a big one for you. Like you have your offline business, which is literally all based around nature. But I'd love to dive a little bit into how that came to be, because I think it's a beautiful example. And I mean, for anyone, all the human design nerds, Taryn is desire motivation. So she's literally designed to lead by following her own desire and, you know, infusing desire within other people. And so this, like, she's such a poet, you know, and so if you feel that, like, allow that to activate you. And she's a line 6, and so her story is just chef's kiss. So yeah, tell us a little bit about the rose trimming story, because I fucking love that one. When you told me it, I was like, if that isn't an example of what just following your own energy and just following the nature of life, like, I don't know
Yeah,
what
I
is,
love this story, and
you know.
like the woman who she's referring to is still such a dear friend of mine, like one of my spiritual grandmothers per se, like someone who was a portal for me, and I didn't even know really what that was at the time. But I, by association, was hired to work on this woman's property, tending her roses, and with my friend at the time. And my friend ended up being a bit of a dick and ditched out on this old lady and like left me with this job. And I was like, well, I don't want to abandon this woman, and like she's so cool, and like the roses are so beautiful. I didn't know what I was doing, but I was like, I'll figure it out. Like, how hard can it be to tend some roses? And so I just watched a bunch of YouTube videos and read all of the articles online on like how to tend roses and um, how to fertilize them, like all sorts of different nuances. And roses are very nuanced plants, depending on the variety. And so I would tend these roses, and I was a bartender at the time, and I would close the bar at like 1 or 2 in the morning, and like get home and like smoke a bunch of weed and like pass out and like wake up at like 10 in the morning, I just do it all again. But over time, after I started working on these roses, I found myself waking up at like sunrise and like just getting dressed in my gardening clothes and driving to this woman's property to tend her roses. Like, it was the first time that I wasn't being attacked or shamed by my past and my trauma, and wasn't anxious about what was to come. It was the first time I believe I really experienced true presence and with what I was doing, where I just was in flow. I just was so curious and interested, and I didn't know that the roses were my teacher at the time, but looking back, they were not just the teacher, but the unconditional love that I needed to feel to be able to be able to move away from that life that I was living, which was going nowhere fast. Like, I was at the time I was abusing drugs and alcohol, I was in toxic relationships, I was bartending, I was doing a bunch of things that were not aligned at all with who I actually was here to be. And the roses were the first ones to introduce me to myself, essentially. And but I just followed that presence because I felt safe. I was like, holy shit, like I don't even care. I was charging like $25 an hour. Like, I wasn't doing it for the money. It had nothing to do with the money. But my partner at the time was a contractor, and he had just started his business that year as well. And so he recommended to me that I just start a gardening business. And I was like, are you crazy? Like, I am not qualified to do anything other than mix Tito's and sodas all night. Like, what? Like, I have no desire to be good or be better, or there was no incentive at all until he planted that seed. And then my sister had a company, a cleaning company, and she's younger than me. She did not go through the indoctrination of drugs and alcohol, so she was able to like get her feet wet in the entrepreneurial space a little bit earlier than me because I was too busy doing things that were very underproductive. But she had a cleaning company, and so I was like, wait a minute, if she has a cleaning company, like I bet I could figure it out. Like, we have the same parents, we grew up in the same house, like if she can do it, I bet that I can do it. And if Andre can do it, who was my husband at the time, then I can probably do this. So I started my business, and 3 months or 4 months after I started my business, Andre ended up dying. but I had my gardening company. I had a little bit of like a client list at that time. And so the only thing that I could do was garden. I had a shitload of work to do. So I was just like, okay, I'm just gonna garden. Like I think that I got back in the dirt like 3 or 4 days after he died. Like I just got right back to gardening. And the 3 months after that, we hit multiple six figures. And so it was just like, I don't know what happened other than the fact that I stayed super tethered to what was nourishing to me and what was nutritive to the path that I wanted to walk, which was to transform. I really wanted to evolve out of the place that I was. And so, whatever allows you to pick up momentum in the direction that you want to be walking is what you do. Stop doing other things that make you feel less like yourself. Do things that make you feel more like yourself. Do things that allow you to learn about yourself in different ways that you didn't know about before. And it's not from, a teacher teaching you about yourself. It's about the neutrality of you spending time with yourself that teaches you about yourself. And that's exactly what the practice of gardening gave to me. But you could do this with anything that you allow yourself to kind of just lose the sense of time within. Like you forget that you, you have an ex-boyfriend that's, texting your phone or whatever, like whatever it is, like you just forget that the future or the past exists because you're so present within that moment, and that creates magnetism. And so being present with whatever helps to bring you closer towards that intended desire of just evolving, of just being obsessed with the process, of just being a student of fucking life, like that is the quickest way to get anywhere that you want to go. And yeah, that's kind of how the roses, like, which is such an epic thing too, because the roses embody the frequency of 432 hertz, which is essentially the frequency of divine love. But it's also my own hypothesis is that oxytocin, which is the chemical and mental brain chemical that's created when trust or unconditional love is present. This is like the hormone that allows us to like form really deep bonds with people. It's like that deep trust. And the roses provided that for me, and they gave me the ability to trust myself because it wasn't about the end goal. It was more about the results. And I got that woman insane results on those roses, and I didn't know what I was doing. But yeah, it was a profound experience, and that's like the basis of um, my company, like my very first business. And yeah.
And this is that fucking amazing, by the way. I just love that story. I can hear it over and over again. And I actually didn't know that about roses, so I'll be off to buy some roses today. Because I want that frequency in my kitchen. But this is another piece, and this is why the energetic literacy is so important, because in our world, we think we're highly intelligent beings. Our brains are like highly overdeveloped now, and we think that everything is so linear, and we think that if I go to school and I get this, then I'll get this job and I'll get paid this much. And it's such a rigid way in which we're conditioned to navigate the world and succeed. And it's like these stories, and that's why I wanted you to tell it, because it's in these stories that you hear where it's like, I had no clue. The only constant was that I continued to be present. I continued to follow my joy. I continued to follow what was nourishing to my vessel. And this is another piece. We're all nature. Like, we're not exempt yet in our society. We've decided somehow that we're like better and exempt from nature, when actually we are just part of the bigger ecosystem. And so when you hear these stories where you follow that joy and it's like, whoa, I made this money, I found my partner, I found this business, it's not an accident. We're here and literally designed. That's why we feel emotion. That's why we experience energy. Otherwise, we may as well be robots. Yet so many of us still have this tight grip on life where, like you said at the start, let's buy another strategy, let's buy another to do, step by step. And then it doesn't work, and you're wondering why that person has got everything you want when their secret is that they found what works for them and they've tuned in to listening to their energy.
It's so real. And like, this is why all of my work now in the online space is rooted in nature's consciousness and the principles of nature, in the pillars of nature, because there is no greater alchemist, there's no greater quantum mechanic, there is no greater prophet, there is no greater teacher than the very fibers that we have evolved from. We are, like B said, we're not, it's not like us humans and then nature. It's like we have evolved from nature. Not only that, but our consciousness has also evolved from nature. And so if you're not starting at that base level, at that soil rooted level, there's not going to be an ability to scale in the way that you want to scale, or the lead in the way that you want to lead, because it's rooted in an inauthentic place that's likely a mask that someone programmed you to wear for you to be accepted or feel security, or more digestible, essentially. And like that doesn't exist in nature. Nature doesn't have judgment. There's no ego. Like, it doesn't fucking matter at all. And so it's like, when you can root yourself back into like actually the truth that you cannot wash off, that nature is underneath you, always has been, always will be, and therefore you're inherently supported. You can never not be supported. Then that means that you have time to go seek out another way. Like, the way knows the way. You don't have to find the way. The way is the way. And so, like, if we can trust the way, if we can feel into the way knows the way. And that's all we have to do. All we have to do is just continue to trust the way. And it's like, your way is going to not look like anyone else's way. Yeah. Disclaimer. It's not going to look like anyone else's way. It might have certain flavors and pieces that are attractive to you and that you try on and that give you a new part about yourself that you can lead with, and then leave something behind. Like I say in my work, I always say, let it slip off like butter in a hot pan. Just let it slip off like butter in a hot pan. Whatever's for you, whatever actually integrates and resonates at a deep level that reminds you of something that you may have forgotten, run with that. Anything else, let it slip off like butter in a hot pan. It's not for you. Stop carrying things that are not for you. And like B said as well, it's like, how can you, this applied pressure essentially is like what you're kind of talking about, in the same direction, right? That is quantum mechanics. So think about a glacier carving all of the mountain ranges that we have on Earth. Okay. Like, applied pressure in the same direction is what transmutes a particle into the next iteration of the particle. And so if you continue to just filter all of your decisions through this rooted place that is wholly authentic, that is not applicable to anyone else other than you, then it's impossible to not quantum leap. The only way for it to not succeed is if you stop. That's it. And so it's like, and that's why hiring people like B, hiring people like me, who actually can reflect that back to you, of these things, that these gaps of inauthenticity that are so fucking sneaky. They are so fucking sneaky. It's not even like your fault that you get held back in these different, very nuanced, multi-layered ways, because they're in there for that reason. It's a subconscious process. Like, it's, and getting in rooms, getting in communities that can have these different gaps reflected back to you is also like just another just hyper speed way to quantum leap. And that's what I just had nature reflecting this back to me over and over. And now I understand the value of human community who does the same thing. But essentially, my very first, that mirror for me was nature, and that's the basis of everything that I do and how I lead myself and my business and my life and my relationships.
Yeah. Literally, as you just said that, like just before you said that about like nature reflecting that and then being in these environments that are nourishing, I literally had a vision of like a bright green garden. And this is also the key of like everything is energy, everything is nature. And so if you're in the room with people who are nourished, they're in tune with themselves, they're also encouraging you to be in tune with yourself. What do you think is going to happen? It's, you know, it's like being in a lush garden and feeling so inspired and so, but then you go to like a dead garden, you're like, oh, there's death, or like, oh, this is a little bit, you know. And it's the same with people. When you're around people that drain you, when you're in environments that drain you, it's literally draining your life force, and you wonder why you're like a wilted cabbage, you know. But this is also the important part. And like you said, it's not your fault, but it is your responsibility to reconnect, you know, do the work to unlearn who you think you are and come back to who you actually are, which is one with the bigger picture. And yeah, so in terms of this work, because it is the most important work, and I feel like we're so on the same page with this one, it's like it's your energy. What are some what are some subtle, like if someone was to come to you and say, okay, I'm really interested in this work, but I'm so in my head. I'm so in my like trauma response. What are some subtle cues that somebody might be going through? Like, what do you usually recognize in somebody that shows you that, okay, they're connected to their mind and not nature? You know, like what is someone currently experiencing where this work would be really important
Such
for
a good
them?
question. Just recently, I had a perfect experience to reflect back. I was communicating with this woman, and she is telling me about like all the things that she's doing, and we're in like a mastermind group in person, and all of us are offering her like different ideas of like things to run with, like and to try out or whatever. And there was either it was either we either got the response of but, like, I can do that, but there's some limitation underneath that I'm, there's something
Yeah.
there's something why I can't actually do that. And so, but, and like also just immediately contracting around being asked something that does expand you. Like immediate being like, no, I tried that, and just feeling very sharp and guarded. Those are two energetics that are very contractive, that I think prove that someone is just in their head. Because if you think about it, well, there's I'll do another way. So that way is that contraction that feels very stagnant. It feels very anxious.
It's like the
The
door's
door
up, you know?
the
Like I'm
door is
not
up.
not
There's
even.
no
Yeah.
curiosity. That's what it really is. There's an absence of curiosity. So that's how you know you're in your mind as well, is that there's an absence of curiosity. There's no presence, there's no self-awareness, and there's no play. Play is super important. That really helps to give you that childlike, wider perspective of like, wait a minute, like, what can I do? So if there's an absence of curiosity, I would say that is one pillar of noticing when you're in your mind and the door is locked, like B said, and you're not even considering that there might be an open window in the room that you're in with a locked door. Like in 100% certainty, secret, there always is an open window. Like, just a disclaimer, like, always is an open window. You're never, ever, ever stuck. So if you think that you're stuck, stop thinking about whatever you're thinking about and go do something else. But that's number one. But the other way I would say is that stagnant heaviness of just feeling kind of like shame. If your internal monologue is really barking at you about that you just didn't do X, Y, and Z right, and that's why you have the results that you have, and that there's FOMO, or there's like this, type of energy that's kind of just demeaning you and trying to convince you that you're not good enough and that you haven't done enough and that you should be ashamed for what you've done because it clearly was not right, or all of those different mini energies that we all experience. But I would say those are the two, is if there's a lack of curiosity or if there's a presence of shame. And how we alchemize this is immediately rooting into the physical body. Find an area in your body and soften it. I was just literally talking to someone today. I'm in this co-living house, and she asked me a similar question. How do I get out of stagnancy if I'm feeling stagnant? I'm like, well, there's a few different options. First, we find an area in our body and we soften it. Just if it's your belly, if it's your shoulders, if it's your mouth and your jaw, or like just your heart, or wherever feels. Sometimes my butt cheeks are really clenched, just like let them loose, let them loosen up. Like find those little tiny muscle groups in your body that are subconsciously contracted and just soften them, because that immediately drops you into the present moment physically, so you can actually be here now. Most complex 3-word sentence that Ram Dass ever said: be here now. So it's a practice. The second is noticing if the energetics are edgy or if they're heavy. If they're edgy, that means that you're feeling like you're standing on the edge of a fucking cliff. Okay? If you're standing on the edge of a cliff, you're going to feel that and you're not sure if you have wings. You're standing on the edge of this cliff and you're not sure if you have wings. Also, secret disclaimer, you do, but that's for another dime. But if that's how you know if something's edgy, and that always is your higher self calling you forward. If it just feels like it's edgy, it feels like it's something that you've never done before, your mind is trying to talk you out of it because you don't know if you're capable, you don't know if you can pull it off, you don't know if you have the skills that are necessary for whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish. That's how you know something is edgy, when it's asking more of you that you haven't met yet, right? And the heaviness is when there's shame, pain, and programming involved. And so that's when the story of, the past kind of comes into play. And we're going back to old instances where we've experienced similar energetics and we didn't get what we had wanted, or we had the wind taken out of our sails, and we attach our identity onto those specific instances. And that weighs us down because that's not true. Our past doesn't define our future, but it does inhibit us from accepting and receiving our future, right? And so getting out of that story. And so discerning whether something is edgy or heavy is really important, because if it's heavy, then we have to apply some compassion, right? Hey, no, let's get back down to the truth that we can't wash off. The earth is underneath you. You're always supported. Look at all these other amazing, different, intricate evidences of you actually doing the things that you said that you could do, or that you were capable and could pull it off, etc. And then I'll just say this last tip here as well is the mind cannot solve problems that the body can't accept an answer to. And so your mind trying to churn and loop and spiral over an answer, if you're and you keep just meeting that same locked door, right? And that's frustrating. And so if instead of doing something else, you continue to try to marinate on why the door is locked, and then that breeds a bunch of story. Oh, well, it's locked because of X, Y, and Z. It's locked because you're not good enough. It's locked because you don't have what it takes. It's locked because you're fundamentally a bad person and you don't deserve shit. That used to be my story. And so what we do is literally anything else. Like, I ask myself these two questions: who can help me, or how can I help myself? And then it gets the object in motion again. Okay, even if it's just writing whatever you're anxious about or whatever you're trying to accomplish down, you are taking an action. And per Newton's law, an object in motion stays in motion. And so an object at rest stays at rest. And so the immediate remedy is asking yourself, who can help me and how can I help myself? That opens you up to possibility, that softens you into your parasympathetic and sympathetic, out of your sympathetic, which is fight or flight, which is in the mind. So you come back down into parasympathetic. You allow your body to regulate to the present moment, softening, Okay, who can help me? How can I help myself? And immediately, okay, maybe I could use a water. Maybe I haven't drank anything since 9 a.m. That would be a good thing to do. That would be an amazing thing to help yourself right away, you know, and then there will be a next thing and then the next thing and then the next thing. But allowing yourself to inquire with that curiosity, because that allows your imagination to open, and also spirit to get you the next step on your path. And it's like our minds are only so capable. We we are not, you know, designed to be computers. Our minds are essentially just a tool that help us navigate the human experience, which is like super, you know, there's all so many facets of that. And so the minute that we experience that fear response or that fight or flight response, that's a clear indication that we are relying on our own power alone and not inviting spirit in, not inviting curiosity in, not inviting possibility in. And that is what I think I will answer that question with. A very long winded answer to that question.
Absolutely. No, it was beautiful. And I mean, this is the thing. It's like most people naturally, because we have evolved, and even from a human design perspective, two of the centers of the nine in the human design chart are mind focused, right? Just two. The rest of the body. Mind is perspective. Mind is opinion, beliefs, but those beliefs and opinions, a lot of the time, like you'll hear yourself say something, you'll hear yourself like, oh, I don't believe in that. I don't want to do that. Oh, what if it's this? And if you really took a moment to tune in and listen to yourself, which a lot of us aren't doing, you'd realize half of those things that you're saying are not even yours. They're not your truth. And so I find that, and this is why the work you do is so important, because you go through a process when you start becoming aware as well, where you're like, oh, wait, this whole construct of who I think I am isn't me, and so your opinions, your beliefs, what you even find edgy, what I used to be so terrified of doing now is something that I like happily jump on, like, and talk about, as like an experience. And so this is why this work is so important, because you don't get to that point of awareness and empowerment by buying another framework of listening to what everybody else is saying. You get it from listening to your body. And so one piece that I think is like really important here as well is, people could be listening to this and they're like, right, well, that's all good. I know what we're talking about, but my mind, my body is just in such a, and we had a conversation about this, people who experience trauma and they experience, big events in their lives that really just completely throw them out of their body. And so they're saying, okay, yeah, like I can understand this as a concept, but like when I'm feeling this, I can't listen, like, because my body is just in such a flight state or a fight state that, like, what do you mean listen to the cues? So, how would you kind of speak to somebody who's in that? Because I know we spoke a little bit about this, and it's important, because I think we get a lot of advice, but there's a lot of people that they're like, well, that can't land for me because my body won't even let me
Right.
go there.
Absolutely. Well, this is, and first of all, you're not alone if you're listening to this and you're like, I have all the tools. I feel like I know what you're talking about, is that to be embodied is the way to navigate life or whatever. But I still get thrown off my center when I get super triggered, or if something is really activating, and then, I forget all of these tools. And it's like, yeah, that's okay. And still, the earth is underneath you, and therefore you're always supported. So even if I get super activated, I will literally tell myself that over and over and over in my head until I'll be like breathing and just be like, and I don't have to figure it out. There's no, first of all, I think the best way to answer this is stop shaming yourself out of an activation. Number one, because it's going to happen. It's part of life, and we have nervous systems and they get activated, and that's like their function. So, like, what we're just supposed to be monks in the
Yeah.
Himalayas? Like, we're not. So we can't expect ourselves to be these steadfast, non-responsive whatevers. You can suck the shame out of it by being thankful that you're alive. And anytime that activation does come up, I mean, I am grateful when I start to feel myself getting really ungrounded and activated, because it's more of an opportunity for me to expand my energetic capacity to hold whatever it is that's coming to my doorstep with compassion, with presence, with being like, wow, this is fucking a lot. I'm feeling a lot right now. Not making myself wrong for those feelings. No one is going to make you wrong for feeling your feelings except for you. Like, we're all adults now. As children, we didn't have that liberty because our parents likely did make us feel wrong for having a big experience about whatever was happening. But now we have the agency to be the authority, to be the compassionate authority in our lives, to say, you know what, it's actually totally okay for me to need to go rip some grass out of the ground outside and fucking scream about this. Because a lot of things that happen in life require that. Like, a lot of stuff that's happened to me in my life has been an invitation for me to meet new layers of myself that I don't shame. And so if you can like just honor whatever it is that you need in that moment, coming back to the present moment and like asking yourself, what do I need? Who can help me? Or how can I help myself? Who can help me or how can I help myself? And the first baseline is that the earth is underneath you. You're always supported. You're always safe. You can't not be safe. It's impossible for you to not be secure. Even through all of the trauma that has happened in your life, still someone believed in you, still you made it through, still you've gained so many new perspectives based off of what's happened to you, and now you are who you are because you've been able to navigate all that life has dealt you, all the cards, probably shitty cards that life has dealt you. And so instead of making all of those wrong, being grateful for the capacity that it's created in you, and like having compassion for all of the new capacity that's being created. And it's like we only really ever get what we can handle, right? And so if we can really root into the understanding that the earth is underneath us and that we have this team of spirit guides and helpers and ancestors that are constantly surrounding us, it's like I just root into that. I don't need an answer right away about whatever's coming up. I just be present with it. It's holding it. It's
Yeah.
being in the threshold with it, and like giving yourself what you needed when you were younger, giving yourself what you need now as the compassionate authority in your life, who's like, you're the only one who's going to be able to do that for you, really, at the end of the day. It's like we all have, partners and friends and nature and everything, all of these external unconditional loves that we have and are so lucky to have in this life. But like at the end of the day, your unconditional love applied to yourself in those moments of insane activation is what helps you to down regulate, so your mind can stop trying to figure it out and your body can actually accept the answer, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And what just came through then as well was like, even if someone's listening to this podcast, that communicates enough that like they're on track, to even being on the frequency that you can attract this wisdom, these codes, it's like that's also life speaking to you, being like, hey, this, like you're following the thread. It's like being aware of like what's dropping into your reality at the same time as what you're moving through, because you're always, like you said, the window's always open. You're always being given clues, but like, are you following it? And so on that note, this was amazing. I feel like I need to go listen to this back because I never remember what we talk about because we're just like straight channeling. But we were speaking about being in a supportive environment, and sometimes when we start this work, it can be really hard to like just tune out of our own stuff, our own chaos. And so being in these supportive environments is so key. So I want to open the space for you to share about your offer that you have right now, energetic literacy, because I feel like it is so potent and so needed.
Thank
And
you
so,
so
yeah.
much. Yeah, this is such an incredible conversation. Always with you. We just get into some seriously juicy magic. But this is this is yeah, energetic literacy is essentially a portal. It's 7 days. It is 3 live calls, daily audio drops, and trainings teaching you how to become energetically fluid. And so, when a big initiation, a big activation, a big invitation comes up in our life, in our business, we have the tools available to immediately help us to regulate and make an aligned choice that's actually in integrity with the contract our soul signed before we were manifested into these physical bodies. Okay. And so it's teaching you the energetic fluency of how to read energetic patterns in your business, teaching you how to read energetic patterns within your own body, teaching you how to read energetic patterns in your relationships, your client dynamics, how you show up to work, how you be in your worth, in your service, in your magic. There's all of these tiny little nuances of energy that we either pay attention to or shun. And so it's bringing all of it to the surface and deducing all of the different ways that it's trying to communicate with us for us to navigate the path that is of our highest timeline, essentially. And to become energetically fluent allows you to move from this present authentic state, kind of like what B was saying, of like this deep presence that allows you to know what is for you, know what is not for you, know when you're acting out of desperation, know when you're acting out of desire, understand all the different subconscious nuances that are running our life. And Carl Jung has a quote which is like, if you don't make the unconscious conscious, it will rule your life and you will call it fate. And so fate is fate is subjective, okay? It's up to us to decide our destiny, but only if we can really read the energetics around it, because there's fate to me is just what you get the hand that you were dealt, and then you feel bad about it and whatever, and things happen to you and they don't happen for you. But when you're working with destiny, everything is for you. When you're energetically literate, everything is for you, because it's you're actually being giving yourself the permission and ability to communicate with life. And then that places you in the seat of a co-collaborator. You become a co-creative sorceress, a co-creative
Mm.
oracle, a co-creative artist with life. And so that is how nature works. That's how pollinators work. That's how storms work. That's how weather patterns and seasons and the cyclical nature of life all is in communication with each other. And so all of these different energetic nuances are rooted in the consciousness of nature. And that's what I'm walking everyone through, is how to really give yourself a tangible understanding of not only how to navigate energetics, but to relate them to something that we have in our fucking DNA, like an actual totem to lean on that isn't just made of some, fluffy opinion or idea or philosophy. It's like actual fact. It's the actual truth that you can't wash off.
We broke the internet. I'll just splice it. You were saying an energetic totem to lean on.
The energetic totem to lean on that's actually rooted in our DNA. It's not an opinion. It's not a subjective truth. It's objective. Nature is fact. It's rooted in the truths that you cannot wash off, that are always there to remind you of our inherent birthrights. all of our inherent birthrights, which is to be secure, just to be safe. We deserve to thrive, not just survive. We're not here to build simply sustainable business and sustainable income. We're here to build regenerative income, regenerative business, regenerative service in our purpose. And so that is essentially the gist of energetic literacy. I'm teaching all of these codes inside that are um, easily accessible for everyone. If it's not accessible for everyone, it's not accessible for anyone. That's what I believe. And so the easiest thing that's accessible for everyone is fucking nature. So, um, yeah, that's what all of my work is rooted in. Energetic literacy is going to change the lives of those in it. 21 people in as of the recording of this podcast. So let's get it to 40 or like 100 or like
Yeah.
whatever. Because yeah, I want what spirit wants for me, and I'm so honored to be the steward of this information to hopefully allow you to walk lightly on your path towards your purpose. And that's what I want for you. So,
What are the
yeah.
dates, just so people know that are listening? What
Yeah.
day does it
So,
start?
it starts on the 15th, but all of the replays will be provided. And I think that I'm going to close the doors on the 16th.
Okay,
So,
cool.
yeah. So, if you're listening to this and it's like the 14th, you're going to get your booty over to at Opaline Alchemy, OPALINE Alchemy on Instagram, and hit the link in my bio and jump in. It's $22. And like B is my mentor. I have a bunch of other mentors. They all think I'm fucking crazy for the price of this offer with how much I'm pouring into it. But it's really just a passionate, um, it's a passionate branch of what I'm here to do. And so I'm so excited to share all of the information and knowledge and wisdom with you.
Hell yeah. And I mean, God, you guys, like if I can say one thing about this woman, like just being in her energy is an activation. And so get in there, follow her on Instagram. You know, details will be in the show notes anyway. But it has been so beautiful just to dive into this with you. Thank you for being here with us. And I love you.
I love you so much. Thank you so much. Oh my God, it is such a pleasure, such an honor. And yeah, just can't wait to continue to co create all of the magic. Feel like we're just scratching the surface.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Okay, lots of love.